Welcome to Subramani. And towards the end of 2021, let me answer some more questions. So, one question which comes up regularly is are people investing because of the TINA factor, right? You all know what is TINA, right? There is no alternative. Why we keep voting for Modi? There is no alternative. Why do we do whatever many things in life is because we think there is no alternative. So, is it the same in equities? I think the answer is yes. Whenever you go and talk to somebody about putting money into an asset class other than equity, the question is what is the yield that you're going to get? You know, typical question, kitna milega? And you are getting pathetic yields in debt products and bank fixed deposits or ultra short bond fund. Savings bank account is giving up slightly above 2%. Let us even assume it is 2.9 or 3%. On that you pay tax. So assuming you're at the 33% slab. So you get 2% return in a country where inflation, whatever all said and done, is about 7-8%. So you're getting -6. So debt is not a great alternative. So people are going in for equity. Then they go and look at real estate and they find that real estate yields are also not high and real estate is not appreciating, even though there is a great attempt by a lot of people to talk up, right? From the big lenders to builders to the media. Everybody is trying to talk up the real estate industry. But similarly, everybody talks up the industry in which they are. So if I'm an equity AUM gatherer, I would like to tell you that equity is great, fantastic, 10 years, 15 years, 272 years, it will be the best asset class. Right, wrong, time alone will judge. So, is this the TINA factor? Yes, it is the TINA factor. People are putting more money into equities. Is it happening only in India? No, it is happening even in US. Yields are low. The Fed and RBI are all pumping money into the economy. They are not talking about increasing interest rates. Occasionally they do talk. Yes, there is inflation, so they will talk about increasing interest rates, but interest rates are not going up in a hurry. So what is the alternative? So everybody flocks into equity, and therefore equity prices are up. Now the second question is, are valuations fair? I don't know. I think we went into 21 thinking that the valuations are fair, or maybe a little overstretched. So whole of 21 was about valuations getting higher. So which is high? The US large cap is high, US mid cap is not very low, Indian large cap, mid cap, everything is high, maybe small cap, mid cap. I would say there is nothing which is looking very cheap today. But having said that, in every industry, in every market, there will be some pockets which will look not so expensive. So that could be happening even in India. Cement may not be very high, or automobile may not be very high. Banking and financial services is not high. I'm not saying that they will go up, but I'm saying comparatively they may not be very high. Maybe FMCG has not moved up, maybe pharma has not moved up, maybe it is a turn of pharma. Metals may have gone up, but metals may still go up if China cuts down production. So yes, there are pockets where you may still see undervaluation, but overall if you see from a PE point of view, from a PB point of view, it is high, and a very big part of the world population, or perhaps definitely an increasing part of Indian population. When I'm saying increasing part, I'm not saying a big part of Indian population. Maybe it was just 2% earlier and now it is 3%, but please understand it's a 50% jump. Look at the number of brokerage accounts being opened. People are not opening brokerage accounts to invest in mutual funds. They're opening brokerage accounts to deal in shares. So you go to Google and say which are the best shares to buy, it will tell you Pidilite and Asian Paints and the same stuff. So I'm not even getting into recommending, but yes, that is happening. People think it is very easy. People are opening banking accounts and broking accounts, brokerage accounts, and people are dealing in shares. People are buying shares, people are selling shares, people are losing money, people are gaining money, everything is happening. So yes, there is a valuation issue, not only in India, internationally. Maybe Europe is not doing well, Japan may not be doing too well, China may be doing well, Taiwan may be doing well. So So some pockets are doing well and some pockets are not doing well. So you may have a very good dividend yield market somewhere, you may have a growth market, and largely people are being told that you have to invest in equity for growth. So that is what they are doing. So nothing too bad about it, but that is what is happening. Yes, valuations are stretched. Yes, people are continuing to put money in equity. We do not know when it will stop, and one thing is certain, we have to understand things like reversion to the mean. One day the market will come down. The question is, what is your asset allocation and are you comfortable? I am very comfortable with a portion of my equity portfolio or a big part of my equity portfolio going down, so I will not do too much of asset allocation. But if you are a person who is worried about that, maybe you should have some money in debt, not because you are getting good yields in debt, but simply because you will have lesser fall in debt. So some of those strategies could be for return or capital protection and not for capital growth, right? The other question which keeps coming up even in the US context and in the Indian context is, should we be worried about inflation? The answer is yes, unequivocally yes. Inflation is a big threat if your income can't go up at the pace at which inflation is going up. So if inflation is high and your salary or your other income, suppose you have rental income and you have interest income, and rental income is not going up in your city, and interest rates are nowhere near going up, and there is TDS, there are return to be filed, there's a lot of hassle regarding all this. What do you do at that stage? Well, you have to be worried about inflation. If your income is going up vis-a-vis inflation, you don't have to worry. But if you are a typical retail investor, maybe a retired investor, you don't have any great source of income, or your source of income is not really indexed, and then you have to be worried about inflation. And unfortunately or fortunately, people will come back to you and say the only protection against inflation is equity, so you will go back into equity. So that fine line that you have to keep between worrying about inflation and the wanting growth, make sure that some money is in bonds, some money is in when I say bond, I mean bond fund, some money is in equity, and you are keeping an eye on inflation. Don't have to be paranoid about inflation, but do you have to worry about inflation? Yes, inflation is throwing its head up. The Reserve Bank and Fed may say it is temporary, it is some silicon chip shortage in Taiwan or China or things like that leading to inflation. Keep your eyes and ears open, because I do think inflation is going to play a role in our lives, and at the same time you need equity, and equity is overstretched. So within all these things, I'm not saying anything is true or anything is false. You have to understand that yes, equity is stretched, yes there is inflation, yes there is poor yield on bank deposits, yes there is poor yield on bond funds, and ultra short bond funds and all would give you south of 4%. Should it bother you? Yes, it should bother you. How should you handle it? You have to create your own asset allocation. You think what is right, or you go and invest in an asset allocator product like BAF or things like that. That's your call. But you don't have to put in BAF because somebody is telling you to put in BAF. If you're 90%, somebody like me who's 90% or 92% in equity, I don't have to put money in BAF. For me, I have to put in pure debt products to reduce my equity, right? So decide on your asset allocation, and if you are happy with that, do it. If you are not happy with that asset allocation, don't do it. What are good inflation hedges during this period, and what should we buy? Commodities have performed very well, which means the commodity inflation is going to come into the products that you buy. If you are very happy with how your steel companies have performed, you have to understand that the steel products that you buy will get more expensive. And I am not only talking about cars, but really anything that you buy, houses that you buy. If cement prices and steel prices go up because these are commodities, housing prices have to go up simply because it is a big part of their input cost. Of course, given a city like Mumbai or Delhi, then a large part or 80% or 90% of the cost could be land, and what all gets built into land. So it's not just that, but yes, of course, some commodity could be a good hedge against inflation. Real estate could be a good hedge against inflation, but the problem with real estate is it has seen a very long bear run. Having seen such a long bear run, do you want to put your money to get a 1% rental yield or a 2% rental yield? I don't know. To me, it doesn't work also because of the size of the transaction that one has to do. I don't want to do transactions that size. I'm happy to do something smaller. So what happens is, do you have to fight inflation? Yes. How do you fight inflation? Is it only equities? Maybe equities, maybe gold, maybe Bitcoin. I don't know. You need to create your own portfolio, whatever you think will hedge you or protect you against inflation. So not too many products. Gold may not be a great hedge if nothing bad happens in the economy. Remember, gold did well because there was a COVID fear, and that is the month, March 2020, when your real estate didn't do well, your equity didn't do well, your debt didn't do well, and gold did very well. But gold could not hold on to those gains. So hedge against inflation has to be equity because it pays a rising dividend. But then equity is overstretched. So within these walls, how do you tackle inflation is something which you have to handle yourself. Some more questions on okay, one more question is, if I'm a retired person, how much should I keep in equity and how much should I keep in debt? I have done many videos on the bucket theory. So today, in such a rising market, I would have 10 years expenses, not less. I would have 10 years expenses in my first bucket and my second bucket, which is your bonds, bond funds, ultra short bond fund, maybe GSEC of different maturities. 2-year maturity, 90-day maturity, etc. would be in my bucket 1, and 10-year maturity would be in bucket 2. So all this put together should be for 10 years. Now, when I say 10 years, let there be a caveat, because if your fourth bucket has a lot of equity, then you could be getting equity dividend. So if your annual expenses are say 5 lakhs and your dividend income is say 3 lakhs, then you need to protect only the 2 lakhs of shortfall which you would take from bucket number 1 and bucket number 2. If you have built such a portfolio, I don't see any way how you can protect yourself against inflation except by using the bucket theory. Bucket theory is you have lot of liquid money in bucket 1, you have slightly less liquid and slightly better yielding debt and slightly less risky equity in the second bucket maybe. But the total money that you have in your bucket 1 and bucket 2 should take care of 10 years expenses. Why am I saying 10 years? Normally I would have said maybe 3, 4 years, 5 years. It's simply because equity is very high. This is a great time to sell some equity and fill up your bucket number 1 and bucket number 2. If you are say 73 years of age and you want to fill up bucket 1 and bucket 2, it makes sense because your equity is anyway something which you are never going to sell, because assuming that from 73 to 83 market doesn't do well, you will not touch money from your equity. So your equity will anyway grow. Maybe your equity mutual funds are in growth options and that will also grow. So you don't have to worry too much, and at 83 you can decide to do an SIP or an SWP from your equity fund, and you anyway have money for 10 years in your bucket 1 and bucket 2. At that stage maybe you will have enough annuity and bank deposits. At that stage you can worry about asset allocation again. But right now, yes, keeping some money in bucket 1 and bucket 2 for 10 years expense is not a bad idea. Not because I think the market is going to go down and stay down for 10 years, but just as an extra protection. This is like, it's like, going from your house to the shop to buy bread, which is maybe 1 kilometer. Should you wear your seat belt? It's nice to wear your seat belt. That's about all. If you don't wear, what will happen? I don't know. You can do a Bombay-Pune journey without wearing your seat belt. Maybe nothing will happen. It is just a safety measure, that's all. So yes, inflation could be a problem, bonds could be a problem, debt funds could be a problem, could be everywhere because the yields are low. Therefore you should be in equities, but you can't overdo equities at a time when so everywhere when there is a consensus that equity is overpriced or whatever, taking some money off and putting into debt is not such a bad idea after all. Or if you are still not willing to listen to this, sell off some equity and put that into a BAF. That could also reduce the amount of equity in your portfolio. That's not a bad idea. It's a safety idea. It may not improve your yields, but it will reduce your losses in case the market was to go down. The market, when I say market is high, I don't mean market is going to come down. I'm just saying market is high. It's a point of view at this point. 1 year later, if the Sensex is at 78,000, then I'm going to say market was low. It was only at 58,000. It has gone up to 78,000. So at this point of time, I think valuations are stretched. The reversion to mean tells you that the market cannot give great returns continuously for every year. 1 year it will catch up. It will stop to take rest, or it will go down. So I'm just saying, be prepared for it. I'm prepared for it because I've been in the market long enough. Are you prepared for it? That's the question that you have to answer. Thank you.